All right, that's a sight. Tracks are off. And it looks like I got 3 bearings. This is bad. It's got slop in it. Not a lot, but there's enough. This is bad. Got slop in it. It was easier with the tires on it, but it's got slop. Yeah. So, and one over here, same thing. Slop. That's really bad. This one here's in good shape. Nothing tight. Everything else is tight. So, got the tracks off. They haven't been off in a while. Had to, knew I had to replace that chain, that double chain right there, which is what I brought it in for. But I decided to check everything because I kind of know the reputation of the guy I bought it from, and I bought it from him anyway, so I'm not surprised. But you know, it's a project. I found a little more wrong with it than I anticipated, considering he said it just came from the shop before he put it up. But it's all right. Looks like it's gonna be a learning experience. 3 bearings and 1 chain coming up. So this is the chain tightener, and it's that double chain, and it is all the way through. Look at that. That's a mess. Look at all this plastic. It's just burnt off, melted off. So yeah, I think a new chain tightener will be, tensioner will be the way to go. That's nuts. I'll probably end up replacing them all, because do it once and for whatever I use it for, it'll probably last, well, will last for years going back and forth to the cabin. That's about it. But look at that. It's just a mess. It's a mess. Gotta love them. Well, this one here is a little better shape, but still not that good. It's coming out. Yeah, I'm gonna replace them all. Well, this chain came off pretty damn easy compared to the other one, so I think I'm getting the hang of it. Of course, it's only a single, but hey, keep plugging away. So the first one took me about, I don't know, 2.5 hours to get out. This one here took about 20 minutes. But I did learn you don't need to take that inside bearing out or undo any of that. So all you need to do is take that one nut out of the end of the axle. That's where it goes. That's what holds the axle. Take out the outer flange. The nuts are on the inside of the frame. Loosen up those sprockets. They'll move over, and you can get a socket on it. Nice. Those are 5/32 Allen. 2 hours plus 20 minutes. And the difference is not dinking around buying a dadgum slide hammer. This is required. Don't mess with it. Just get a slide hammer, rent a slide hammer, do whatever. I opted to buy because it'll go into my toolkit for this. Anything that I use, any tool that I use to make any repair on this goes in the toolbox for this, and I haul it around because of course you want to do everything you can in the garage, but if you have to do it in a mud hole or out in the field somewhere, you got to have the tools, or it's just not going to work. You will fight it. Then you'll go make the trek however many miles to the road, and then however many miles to the nearest parts house to get tools and then do the same thing in reverse. So anyway, slide hammer, buy it. And these bearings have set screws on them that are, and they're 1/8. So there it is, 1/8. Takes them off, easy peasy. Got one more to do, other side, and clean them up and off for parts. Make a trip to Anchorage. Chains, bearings, and seals. So the last one, as you can see, nuts out. Sometimes you gotta beat these things. This one here's loose. I can get in there, and I can get in there with a socket, and I can't really tell, but 9/16. That takes loosens up these outside bolts, and then the slide hammer comes into play, and off she comes. One thing I forgot to mention was, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, was you do have to loosen up those 2 set screws on that inner bearing housing. Just loosen them up. That's all you got to do. And these bolts back here also have washers, so just be aware. Try and grab them before they drop into that nasty oily water. I will have to lower the back end on this thing and drain that nasty stuff out. Holy cow. Another job before I actually put this back together is I got to wire brush that whole seam, and 5200 it, even under and around the bottom of that flange, because that might be where a lot of water's coming in, and that seems to be a spot that's missed when you got a waterproof. So I think that's a big spot where water gets in. So I will be taking care of that also. Now, next step, pull this last axle out. All right, I went into Anchorage the other day and got some parts. Bearings. These are upgraded bearings that Argo sells, so I decided not to do the Napa thing. One thing I didn't know about with these seals, if you're going to change these bearings out and pull these outer flanges, put the new seals in. And they go inside here. It's a no-brainer. There's 2 different sizes. They only fit one way. The rubber goes out. So, same with this one. Rubber goes out. And they just push in and they push out. Got new corks. These bearings are supposed to be better, so we'll see. I'm only replacing the outers. The innards really don't wear out. They get plenty of grease and they don't get hammered like the other ones, like these outside ones. So I got these cleaned up, as you can see. Sometimes there's a ridge here, you can feel that, and that bearing doesn't want to go over it. So take a file it off. Doesn't take much. Took about 5 minutes worth of it, went all the way around, and when I put the bearing on to see it, it went right to the bottom. It went right where it was supposed to go. So that's pretty much it. Got the double corks. So one on the inside, one on the outside. Tomorrow I will probably pull the tensioner blocks and then make up my mind whether I'm going to pull that other axle, since I got 3 of them out on these inner ones, or inner axles. I don't know how long it's been. It doesn't show any, nothing. There's no play on that whatsoever, where there was lots of play on these other ones. So I'm kind of at a loss. I'd hate to have to do this next year for just one axle. So I may take that out. I don't know. I hate changing. I hate taking things apart when there's nothing wrong with them. Too much can go wrong. And now that I know, I can really do it. Only take a few hours. It looks like it's going to start. This machine is only pretty much going to the cabin and back, and a little bit around the cabin, so it's not like I'm going 30 miles or 50 miles back in somewhere. So, all right, well, I have to make a little 2x4 tool for the blocks. These doohickeys. So I can put them on. And what they said was soak them or put them in hot water for five minutes or so, and it'll soften them up a bit because they're a little rigid, and sometimes when you pop them on they crack, and that's not what you want. It just ruins them. So that's what I'm going to do. But to take these things off, I need a block that gaps this, so I need to cut a piece of 2x4, and so it'll span that, and we'll see how that works. All right. Yeah, so just cut a notch. Doesn't have to be pretty. Put it over the block as soon as I find it. Tap it with your dead blow. Took a couple taps, but popped right out. The other ones should be the same way. And I would imagine when I install them, this will give me a little more even. Not sure, but I could hit it this way. But I think this is better. We'll find out. I got a couple extra, so if I break one, I'll let you know. Well, I just had to show you real quick. I just popped these out. It took me like 5 minutes. That little prehistoric tool I made works pretty good. This is the one that started the whole thing. This one here was the one that was so loose, and it was just wore out. I mean, it's almost all the way through, and there's almost a hole in the pan. You can feel the groove in the plastic. It's not good. It's holding water, so I guess it's not leaking there, but a couple of these aren't too bad. They say this is the next one. Actually, this is the one on the same chain, but it's well, it's the next chain back, but it's basically the same place in the next hole. And some of these others aren't too bad, but the shop manual says 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, which means probably you can go, yeah, I wouldn't go any deeper than that. That's as deep as I'd like to go. But you know that every fraction of an inch that this is grooved out loosens up your chain exponentially. So it basically doubles it because you got you got top and bottom on it. So that's the deal. So these will replace those, and they'll be new, and everything will be nice. See how long it lasts. So these sprockets, they just have a divot in them. You can see just a little bit. You can see that. You just get a flashlight or whatever. You can see these divots. They're not hard to find. You can either do it this way or feel with it put it all in there or something. But these sprockets only go one way. So if you can't find your divot on your axle, then of course you got them backwards. And the other thing you want to make sure is if make sure the double sprocket is on the correct side and the single's on the correct side, and you're good to go. So, all right. Well, this is one of the easiest jobs, so let's get her done. So these are our tensioner blocks, so they go on the little doohickeys, I call them. They look a whole lot more complicated than they are. I just put one back in, but there's plenty of YouTube videos on that. The other ones I never touched because I knew better. I made the mistake, all my mistakes on the first axle, and cost me a little extra time, but certainly the learning process is worth it. But anyway, I said soak them in some hot water for a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, and it'll make them a little more pliable, so that evidently they're a little brittle sometimes and they'll break, and they're $10 a piece, so I don't want to break any. I got a couple extras because I'm not doing the front, but I got to do all the rest, and I really don't want to go buy any more. All 4 and 2 in the front. Yeah, that little idea, I don't know if it made it easier or not, but I just set them on there, one little tap with the hammer, and done deal. Popped right on, they're on. So that's probably the easiest little job there is. Next step is chains, and that'll be a tomorrow deal. This is almost toddy time. Actually, it is toddy time, and I'm gonna go. Got the 2 on this side done. You might have to, well, you probably will. You just have to, before you tighten down your sprockets, you just have to move them over a little bit so you can get in there. Now I preloaded those a little bit, as much as I could, with some grease. That's why there's grease on them, but I haven't greased them yet, but every little bit helps. So this is the outer housing of that outer bearing. It's got 2 zerks on it, as you can see. They're at quarter turns. This has holes in it, and I've lined them up here to one of the set screws. You can see the 2 holes, and then 90 degrees, or 40, or anyway 45 degrees, anyway, yeah, it's a quarter turn anyway. So you got 2 there and 2 there, and those you want to line up with the grease zerks on this. So I've got one straight up, and the other one is, see, that's how I want it right there. Okay, there's the zerks. The other thing you got to remember is, now on the other side, since there doesn't seem to be a left and right hand side, these are the same. So on the right side of the my driver's side, some are on the left side, but my driver's on the right. These zerks are pointing up and back, but on the left side of the machine, the zerks are going to point forward and up, always up. I don't want them down. You don't want to hit something and wipe it out. So that's, of course, with tracks, it's really protected for the most part, and I'm very careful. But so that's that. Now I need to pack some grease in here and get that going. Alrighty, and don't forget a little anti-seize. I don't know if you need it or not, but powers that be says you do. I don't know, this stuff came off pretty easy actually when I dismantled everything. They said I was lucky, so I will put some on here. I mean, I still needed my slide hammer to get everything off, but once it once it came off, was pretty good. I guess if you can't move your sprockets very well, it's going to be a bitch getting everything apart. But so I don't want to forget that. And then this goes on. Seals are in. And this goes on. I want to make sure that put a little Loctite blue stuff. I'm not too worried about where this is going because I'm pretty much following the marks that are there, and it goes on the little flat spot, little shoulder, and there's two, but there's only room for one. But I'm really just making sure my holes are there, and then put this in, and like I said, I'm not too worried about it. The nut that bottoms out, that pulls this tight, the end of this axle into the other bearing, when you cinch that down, it's gonna move this where it wants to go. It's been my experience, so I'm not too worried about this being in the exact perfect spot. It's pretty close though. Okay, cork, back panel, cork, want to make sure that my zerks are going to be good. Yep. All right. Good. Not only do the zerks have to be good, but the bolt pattern only goes one way. So you have to make sure that it's lined up the direction you need it. I thought at first time I put one of these together was just a square bolt pattern, but it's not. So if you want your zerks to be lined up right, then you got to pay attention to what that is. So you can see the pattern. First time I did it, I lined it up like this. Well, they're not lined up that way on the machine. You got to go this way. And that's exactly how it's going to go in. And I got a zerk forward and a zerk top. My holes line up and they line up. So it's, however it goes on in here now, it's not going to, but you'll have to push it on in now. And to see now I can at least put it in and turn the axle to where my holes are for the sprockets, and put them in, and this is where you have to kind of reach in and get it all done. Push it in, get a sprocket on there, shove it on, get the other one on there, make sure it's lined up, and then start it into the other. So, and this is the bolt that goes in the end of the axle. Just make sure you put a little Loctite on it. I've wire brushed it from a bench grinder, so it should go in pretty easy. Beautiful. Both sides, middle and, well, I'll call them the front. Anyway, it's the double and the one behind it. Both of them. What a mother. But pretty straightforward. It's just that you just have to, you just got to feed it through. There's no easy way. There's no secret way that's gonna make your life easier. So you just got to feed them through. I put these, I'm gonna put these two on the back because I think they're easier, certainly easier to get to. Also, you need one of these. Don't even bother trying without it. You can go to Argo, and for 50 bucks you can buy one, or do like I did and go down to the hardware store and buy a $22 pair of vice grips. And the only reason I did is because I should have bought them when I was at Argo the last week, and I didn't. So it's Saturday. I got to take some days off and go visit family and do stuff. So I needed it today. So anyway, I ground it off, and then you have to grind off a little on the top too, because it's just a little too thick otherwise. Lifesaver, because you can cinch it up and then loosen a little and dial it in and get a little tighter and a little tighter and a little tighter. It takes the slack out of the chain, so a little at a time, and then you can put your master link in there. So actually, once I figured it out, it's not going too bad. There it is. Easy peasy once you get the hang of it. And that'll just slide in, and then you just got to fight the backer piece and the clip, and really it doesn't take much. You just got to work it. All right, one more to go. Woohoo! All right, there it is. 6 chains done. It's about 3 in the afternoon. I started at about 11. Fought it. Went to the hardware store, got my vice grips, fought it, ground them, fought some more, ground some more till they fit, and then probably the last hour I put in let's see, 3 chains, and then in the last 10 minutes to put in the last 2. Now I put in the center chain, and then the double chain, and then the rear chain. I haven't done anything with the very front 2. They're just kind of hard to get to, and they don't seem like they're in bad shape as far as bearings. The whole thing here was bearings, and being how it's 06, it's got 175 hours on it. If that's true, it was time for chains, and so that's what I did. And next, when I get back, will be waterproof the center seam here where the tub goes in, all the lateral. I don't know where else I'm getting water, but it's something I got to wire brush all that out. And then I got some 4200. Would have liked to have 5200, but no one seems to carry it anymore. And then take the tires off and grease everything. You can grease it without taking the tires off, but since I'm in the garage and I have air tools, they'll come off in just a second. And then what else I got to do? Oh yeah, put those monstrosities back on. So those are for some later days. Well, it's getting close to the end. Got the center stripe all cleaned out, wire brushed, acetoned, and 5200. That's some nasty stuff, but should work good. Some of these gaps were 3/8 to 1/2 inch, and my God, I'm sure most of my water problem was coming from this. So I got them all fixed. We'll see how it goes. Everything's greased, inside out, outside in. Grease, grease, grease. So can't complain. All these I got. Cleaned off these outer corners, got the tires off. They're all greased up now. Also tightened up the nuts